Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, I have several more stories of the bizarre to read today, folks. Both stories are out there. We have deadly mermaids, and we have very bizarre hood reptilians. Let's get into the first article titled, Deadly Mermaid Encounters, Mysterious Drownings, Water Spirits, and Legends, and hear exactly what was seen and experienced. Reports of deadly mermaid encounters have surfaced repeatedly from Zimbabwe's rivers, dams, and sacred pools. Two particularly disturbing incidents, one involving two young boys near Gakwe in 2017, and another involving a religious cleansing ceremony in Masimingo Province in 2021, demonstrate how deeply the belief in dangerous water spirits remains embedded in the region. Were these simply tragic drownings interpreted through local folklore? Do Zimbabwe's waterways harbor something that witnesses believe cannot be explained conventionally? Let's actually read the witnesses' stories now. On February 19th, 2017, two young boys were reportedly herding cattle near a dam in the Gakwe area when they noticed something unusual in the water. Believing that it might be a large fish, the boys attempted to catch it. According to the account, later related by Chief Niman Gakwe, the creature seized the boys and pulled them beneath the water. A companion who witnessed the incident ran back to the village and alerted the adults. When the elders arrived, they reportedly found the two boys, lying alive on a rock near the water. Although the children had survived their initial disappearance, the situation suddenly changed when their parents reached the dam. Believing that their sons were dead or in immediate danger, the parents began crying. Local tradition warns that relatives must not openly mourn a person who has been taken by the Juzu or the Injusu, since crying may anger the water spirit and prevent the victim from being returned safely. So the Jutsu or ninjutsu will take you then. Sounds very fairy-like or basically fae-like from mythology. Either way, that's only just part of the story, folks, because there's more to it. So let's read this before we basically discuss it. Chief Nemengagwe claimed that a whirlwind suddenly swept across the area. The alleged mermaid then appeared again, seized the boys, and dragged them back beneath the surface. Their bodies reportedly resurfaced later. The deaths were treated as drownings, but members of the community believed that the boys had been killed by a mermaid because their parents had violated the traditional prohibition against crying. A second disturbing incident occurred 4 years later in the Musungwizi River near Mabenzuri, Masingo Province, where even more of this bizarre phenomena was taking place, folks. But either way, this story sounds very fae-like, or basically like the fairies were behind it, especially with this rule that if you cry, well, your children will either be drowned or taken away permanently, spirited away. That sounds very reminiscent of such old stories, folks, and mythology. But let's get to the next account. On July 14th, 2021, Pastor Amos Chituri was reportedly invited to the Zishiri homestead to conduct prayers. During the gathering, he claimed that several villagers required spiritual cleansing in a river. The following day, the pastor accompanied 5 people to a rocky pool in the Masangawizi River. Witnesses said that strange and frightening sounds could be heard coming from a nearby mountain during the ceremony. The 5 participants began praying in tongues. Without warning, they reportedly entered or jumped into the river and disappeared beneath the water. Victor Tavazweriri and Blessed Gambo resurfaced the same day. However, they were reportedly unable to explain what had compelled them to enter the river. Could this be a real story, folks? It sounds sort of, very, very out there and basically like a tall tale to me. Especially basically since these people went into the water and apparently came out, I guess, later and stuff like that, when they probably should have drowned. Either way, let's continue. The other participants remain missing. The bodies of witnesses, Cher Rombo and Cosmore Mavidia, were seen floating on the river on July 23rd. A third body, identified as Funge Berzvazdirizia, was recovered later that day. Police officers were deployed to the area while villagers continued conducting rituals near the river. Although police confirmed the drownings, some residents believe that mermaids or spiritual entities inhabiting the pool were responsible. The Muzungawizi River deaths were not the first time mermaid beliefs had intersected with official activity in Zimbabwe. But in Zimbabwe, folks, they believe in more river spirits and basically supernatural entities rather than traditional mermaids that Westerners know about, folks. In fact, these kinds of spirits are very reminiscent of river entities and river spirits from, from Europe and, Ireland and so on. So you get something there. Either way, very out there. Either way, let's continue. In 2012, workers assigned to repair and install water pumps at reservoirs near Gakwi and Mutair reportedly refused to return to the sites. The workers claimed that they had been frightened or driven away by mermaid-like beings. Some descriptions referred to pale-skinned humanoids with dark hair and fish-like tails. The matter became unusual enough that Zimbabwe's Water Resource Minister Samuel Sipipa Nagomo discussed the workers' claims before a parliamentary committee. Traditional leaders were reportedly asked to conduct rituals intended to appease or remove the entities so work could continue. As usual, folks. It feels like basically when this sort of thing happens, it's always along these lines where basically the government and, various, organizations in these countries are trying to develop the land and they anchor something, in it that basically, starts basically doing something like frightening or killing people. That's what it feels like to me sometimes, doesn't it, folks? Almost like it's basically from a script in a Hollywood movie. Very bizarre. Either way, we can discuss these mermaids a little later, folks, after we read the next bizarre article. This one involving alien beings, or maybe a cryptoterrestrial. Either way, let's read this article titled Tall-Hooded Reptilian Humanoid Seen Along I-5 Near Los Banos, California, and read about how the witness encountered another reptilian, possibly alien being, and how it affected him, folks. On a hot July evening in 2016, 3 travelers heading south through California's San Joaquin Valley reportedly encountered a tall, hooded figure walking alone beside Interstate 5. As their vehicle passed, the witnesses saw what appeared to be a scaled, non-human face staring back at them from beneath the dark hood. We've read about such encounters before, folks, where basically people drive by some mysterious stranger and they make out that his face is inhuman. Sometimes an alien-like being with big black eyes. Here, a reptilian being. Sometimes it's something else, something more, like a ghost or something. But here we have, a traditional reptilian alien being sighting. Possibly cryptoterrestrial, as I said, folks, but let's read on. I am submitting this statement regarding an incident that occurred on July 10th, 2016 at approximately 6 o'clock p.m. This is not a hoax, and I am not looking for publicity or attention. I am still unsure whether what I saw was a legitimate sighting, and I am seeking answers that may help me understand whether we encountered an actual non-human being. A friend, her son, and I had driven from San Diego to San Francisco for a weekend leisure trip. On Sunday, we were traveling southbound on Interstate 5 towards San Diego. We were approximately 10 minutes south of Los Banos. The surrounding landscape was barren. There were no buildings, structures, or people nearby, only dry grassy hills and dirt roads running alongside the freeway. I was trying to get some rest when my friend, who was driving, suddenly said, "What is that?" She pointed toward the right side of the road, where this entity presumably was, at that moment, folks. But let's continue. I immediately looked over and saw a tall figure approximately 6 feet in height walking along the roadside. It was dressed in what appeared to be a thick, black, monk-like or Grim Reaper-style robe with a large hood. Could this have been maybe some sort of costume, and this was part of some sort of hoax, folks? Or maybe this guy was going to a costume party? It's possible, and we'll discuss that point later. After we read through this guy's story, and we'll discuss it and the previous story in more detail. But let's continue now. The clothing immediately seemed unusual. It was approximately 90 degrees outside, and we were in the middle of nowhere. I could not understand why anyone would be walking through that area wearing such a heavy, black hooded robe in the heat. As we passed, I turned to get a better look at the figure's face. When I looked directly at it, the figure turned and looked back at me. What I saw chilled me to the bone because he was looking at something distinctly non-human. It could be a mask that this thing was wearing, folks. Or maybe he really did see something not of this world. As I said, it's a bizarre thing, but let's read on. Inside the dark hood was a being that looked nothing like a human. Its face appeared to have brownish-green scales, a short snout, and large dark eyes that glistened in the sunlight. Even though it was approximately 100 feet away, the features appeared unmistakable. It looked directly at me without showing any expression. The figure was not carrying anything. It didn't see any equipment. It was walking slowly and awkwardly, almost as though it were searching for something. I was terrified, especially after it looked directly at me. For a moment, I thought we should pull over and confront it, but I was frozen with fear. We conducted, nothing unusual, like basically say, stopping and basically confronting this thing. Yeah, I used the word conducted there, folks, because that basically sounded kind of cool. Either way, let's continue. We continued driving. I immediately asked my friend whether she had seen what I had seen. Both she and her 12-year-old son, who was sitting in the back seat, confirmed that they had observed the same figure. So this wasn't just one man seeing something, folks. There were several other people present. So that's good for him to have these people back him up. But let's continue once again and get back to this bizarre reptilian story. I'm trying to determine whether what we saw could have been what people describe as a reptilian being. I would also like to know whether other witnesses have reported similar entities. I regret that we did not stop or turn around to obtain a photograph or other evidence. However, after reading accounts involving reptilian humanoids, I now believe that continuing to drive may have been the wiser decision. I've read theories suggesting that these beings may inhabit hidden or inaccessible locations in rural areas. I cannot verify these, or those claims, but the isolated location made me wonder whether something might be concealed in that area near Los Banos and Interstate 5. Maybe. He has a point there, folks. Maybe he's onto something. There's something out there that would basically harbor these beings. Some sort of base, a UFO base perhaps, maybe under the, ground in the area, or maybe in a lake nearby, perhaps, depending how, if there is a lake nearby or a river. Once again, folks, let's get back to this guy's account. I do not know whether anyone in the other vehicles traveling nearby noticed the figure. I can only state that the incident occurred, and I would be willing to swear under oath that this is what we witnessed. I also experienced unusual events as a child that I believe may have involved contact with gray aliens. Those memories are foggy, although I retain clear recollections of several incidents that may have involved abduction. My mother is aware of those experiences and may be able to provide additional information, but that is a separate subject. This was the first time I had ever seen a being resembling the figure we encountered near Los Banos. Now, it could be that this man is a former abductee who was taken by the gray aliens, folks, because as I've basically told you all before, people who have experienced weird phenomena like Bigfoot or even alien encounters often experience other encounters, perhaps with other alien beings like the reptilians or even Bigfoot. It sounds like this is the case exactly here. But once again, folks, we have to get back and read through the last bit of this guy's story. Even though many years have passed, I have never found a satisfactory explanation for what the three of us witnessed. I am reporting the incident in the hope that someone can help determine whether it was genuine. I respectfully request discretion. Thank you for your time, and I hope you can help me understand what we saw. And I hope that basically someone can help this man as well. What was this thing, folks? Much like with the mermaids, no one can basically get a real answer to it at all. Could it be that basically they're related? Kind of doubtful, because the Zimbabwe mermaid stories, folks, they're kind of basically, everyone basically considers them on the fence about it, because Zimbabwe and the stories there, folks, are more, traditional and basically related to their mythology. I would not be surprised, because it sounds like that to me, folks, because the story with the two boys disappearing could be basically just another story from their myths and legends. While the story with the reptilians here, folks, it is directly related to basically UFO phenomena and mythology that people have basically recently started really talking about for the last few decades and stuff like that. It from basically, when basically various people basically began mentioning that the world was controlled by reptilian beings and so on, that people really began to basically take this subject more seriously. Even if basically some people consider the reptilians ruling humanity just as silly as mermaids. I can see that too. Either way, I'm out their story for sure, folks. What was this being out there for? Maybe it wanted to be seen by this man, folks, or maybe it was what allowed this man to see it was his prior contact with alien beings, and this allowed the other people who are near him to actually see this being as well. I would not be surprised if that is the case here, and that this alien being, if he was there for some reason, maybe he was out enjoying the day, perhaps, I'm not quite sure, or maybe he was going back to the base. We don't know either. Either way, a surely bizarre story, both of them are, especially with mermaids and reptilians and what it could mean for the world. Until more information comes out, as I've said before, folks, we can only just wonder about it. Hopefully, maybe these people can provide more information with these accounts. But now we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in descriptions or the chat to go subscribe me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure to hit the part of the bell that give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video. So be sure to come back again then. Until next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.